When you first meet a woman, everything feels new, exciting, and full of possibility. The way she looks at you, the tone of her voice when she says your name, the energy she gives off when you're around, it all creates a powerful sense of connection. In those early days, you don't even have to think twice about whether she's interested or not. It's obvious. You see it in her eyes, you hear it in her laugh, and you feel it in the way she makes time for you. But over time, things can change. The warmth may begin to cool, the little details you used to notice start to fade, and suddenly you find yourself asking questions you never thought you would. Is she still interested? Or has something shifted without you realizing it? This doubt doesn't appear out of nowhere. Most men feel it in their gut long before they can explain it with words. That strange silence when the conversations aren't as lively as they used to be. That hesitation in her voice when you suggest plans. That invisible wall between you, built not in one day, but in many small moments that accumulate until the relationship feels unfamiliar. It's in those moments of uncertainty that you need to step back and truly pay attention, because women rarely lose interest overnight. It's a process, and if you're willing to see the signs, you'll understand exactly what's happening before it's too late. One of the first signs is how she communicates. In the beginning, she would reply to your texts quickly, sometimes even before you expected it. She wanted to share her world with you, every little update, every funny thought, every small frustration. But now you notice delays. Hours pass, sometimes even a full day before she responds. And when she does, the answers are short, cold, and stripped of any real emotion. Instead of, "I miss you, can't wait to see you," it's just "okay" or "we'll see." Communication, once filled with excitement, becomes mechanical, like she's checking a box rather than opening her heart. Another clear indicator is her effort in spending time with you. A woman who is genuinely interested will find a way to be with you, even if her schedule is busy. She'll cancel plans, stay up late, or wake up early just to share a few more minutes by your side. But when her interest fades, suddenly everything else becomes more important. Her work, her friends, her family, even random errands take priority. You propose to see her, and she always has an excuse ready. Too tired, too busy, maybe another time. And that another time never really comes. The truth is, when someone values you, they create time for you. When they don't, they create excuses. Her body language also reveals more than her words ever could. Pay attention to how she looks at you. In the past, her eyes would light up when you walked into the room, like she had been waiting for you all day. Now her gaze feels distant, distracted, as if her mind is somewhere else. Notice how she sits when she's near you. Is she leaning in, facing you, engaged? Or is her body turned slightly away, her arms crossed, her eyes glued to her phone? These subtle changes may seem small, but they carry a heavy truth. Her heart is slowly pulling away. Physical affection is another key element. A woman in love wants to be close. She'll hold your hand, hug you, kiss you, and find excuses to touch you, even in small ways. She'll fix your collar, brush your hair from your forehead, or rest her hand on your arm without even realizing it. But when she's no longer interested, those gestures disappear. The hugs feel shorter, the kisses less frequent, and the warmth of her touch is replaced by distance. Intimacy, both emotional and physical, is the heartbeat of a relationship. When that rhythm fades, it's often because the connection itself is fading. You also start noticing that the little details she used to care about no longer matter to her. Maybe she used to ask about your day in detail, wanting to know not just what happened, but how you felt. Maybe she used to surprise you with small acts of kindness, like remembering your favorite snack or sending a good luck message before a big meeting. But now those gestures are gone. She listens half-heartedly, forgets things that once mattered, and shows less interest in the person you are becoming. Love thrives in the details, and when those vanish, it's a sign the investment is no longer there. In these moments, many men make the mistake of chasing harder, trying to force the spark back by overwhelming her with attention. They send more texts, plan more dates, shower her with gifts, and demand explanations. But often this only pushes her further away, because if her interest is already fading, pressure won't reignite it. It will only suffocate what little remains. What truly matters is awareness, seeing the signs for what they are, not for what you wish them to be. Understanding these early indicators is painful, but it's also empowering. Because the truth, no matter how hard it feels, is always better than living in a fantasy. Denial may bring temporary comfort, But clarity brings freedom. Freedom to make choices, to protect your dignity, and to move forward with your life. The man who ignores the signs ends up trapped in confusion, constantly wondering what went wrong. But the man who sees them clearly can prepare himself emotionally, accept reality, and take the steps necessary to rebuild his future, whether with her or without her. When a woman is no longer interested, she doesn't always say it directly. Most women avoid confrontation, preferring instead to let their actions or lack of them speak louder than words. That's why men often feel blindsided. They think everything is fine until one day she announces it's over. But if you look closely, the clues were always there. She had been slowly withdrawing, creating emotional distance long before the final goodbye. One of the most obvious changes is in her priorities. In a healthy relationship, even if she's busy, she finds ways to integrate you into her life. She talks about the future, includes you in her plans, and makes decisions with you in mind. But when she's checked out, you notice that her future conversations no longer involve you. She talks about trips, goals, or career moves as if you don't exist in her picture. You become a guest in her world rather than a partner in it. Her tone also shifts. Words that once carried warmth now feel sharp or indifferent. You could say something funny, and instead of laughing, she gives a polite smile or rolls her eyes. When you share something personal, she reacts with disinterest or even annoyance. Conversations that once flowed naturally now feel like walking on eggshells, with her impatience surfacing at the smallest things. This change in tone isn't random. It's a reflection of her fading emotional investment. Another crucial sign is the absence of curiosity. When a woman is in love, she wants to know everything about you. Your past, your dreams, your fears, your thoughts on the most random subjects. Her questions are endless because her heart is hungry to understand you fully. But when she loses interest, that curiosity dies. She no longer asks, no longer digs deeper, no longer seems fascinated by who you are. You become someone she already knows too well, someone who no longer excites her imagination. There's also a difference in how she handles conflict. At the start, she might have been willing to argue passionately, because even fights were a sign she cared enough to engage. But now she doesn't even bother. She avoids arguments, not because she wants peace, but because she no longer sees the point. Silence replaces discussion, and indifference replaces intensity. That lack of fight is one of the strongest signs that her heart has already moved on. At this stage, many men blame themselves entirely. They wonder what they did wrong, what they could have said differently, or how they failed to keep her happy. While self-reflection is important, it's also crucial to understand that her disinterest isn't always your fault. People change, feelings fade, and sometimes the chemistry that once brought two people together simply dissolves with time. Recognizing this truth allows you to stop punishing yourself and start focusing on growth. The danger of ignoring these signs is that it keeps you stuck in denial. You keep holding on to an illusion, hoping things will magically return to the way they were. But relationships rarely heal through wishful thinking. They require honesty, communication, and willingness on both sides. If only one person is carrying the weight, the balance eventually breaks. What's most painful is the subtle cruelty of it. She may not say, "I don't love you anymore," but her actions scream it louder than words ever could. Every unanswered message, every canceled plan, every cold stare is a silent reminder that she's already slipping away. And the longer you pretend not to see it, the more damage it does to your self-esteem. You begin to question your worth, your attractiveness, and your value as a partner. But here's the truth. Her disinterest doesn't define you. It doesn't make you less of a man, less deserving of love, or less valuable. It only means that this particular connection has reached its limit. And once you see that clearly, you can stop chasing what's gone and start preparing for what's next. As her interest fades, you'll notice that intimacy becomes one-sided. In the beginning, both of you contributed to keeping the spark alive. You surprised each other, showed affection, and invested time and energy into the bond. But when she's no longer invested, you'll find yourself being the only one trying. You're the one planning dates, initiating conversations, and keeping the flame alive while she sits back with little to no effort. This imbalance is exhausting, and deep down you know it's unsustainable. Another subtle but telling sign is her emotional unavailability. She may be physically present, sitting beside you on the couch, but mentally she's somewhere else. You talk, and her responses are delayed or distracted. She scrolls through her phone, stares into space, or changes the subject quickly. It feels like you're in the same room, but in completely different worlds. That emotional distance is far more painful than physical absence, because it's proof that even when she's near, she's already gone. She may also stop celebrating your wins. Before, when you achieved something, no matter how small, she would cheer for you, uplift you, and make you feel like a champion. But now she barely reacts, or worse, she downplays your success. Her support turns into indifference, and the encouragement you once relied on disappears. A partner who no longer celebrates your victories is a partner whose emotional connection has faded. Social behavior is another revealing factor. Notice how she acts with you in public or around her friends. A woman who is proud of you will show it openly. She'll introduce you warmly, engage with you, and make you feel like part of her world. But if she's lost interest, she distances herself in social settings. She avoids public displays of affection, rarely mentions you to others, and sometimes even acts as though she's single when you're not around. These behaviors may seem subtle, but they're powerful indicators of her mindset. Perhaps the hardest moment is when you realize she no longer confides in you. In the past, you were her safe place. She would come to you with her problems, fears, and secrets because she trusted your support. But now she shares less and less. You hear about her struggles from other people or not at all. That loss of trust and intimacy is a clear sign that the relationship's foundation has cracked. When men reach this stage, many hold on out of fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of rejection, fear of starting over. They convince themselves that some love, even if it's cold and distant, is better than none at all. But that mindset only prolongs the pain. Staying in a relationship where the other person has already checked out doesn't save you. It drains you. It drains your energy, your confidence, and your ability to open your heart again in the future. And yet, there is strength in recognizing reality. Because once you accept the truth that she's no longer interested, you reclaim your power. You stop begging for attention, you stop compromising your dignity, and you start making choices based on self-respect rather than desperation. That shift is the beginning of healing. It's the moment you stop being a prisoner of her disinterest and start being the author of your own future. When her interest fades, silence becomes louder than words. You start noticing long pauses in conversations, awkward silences where there once was laughter, and the absence of those little check-ins that used to make you feel valued. She doesn't ask where you are, doesn't care when you'll be home, and doesn't seem to notice when you're gone. The bond that once made her eager to know everything about you has turned into indifference. She's no longer present in the relationship, and you can feel the emptiness in every unspoken moment. Another sign is her emotional resistance. Even if you try to talk about the distance you feel, she deflects or shuts down. Instead of engaging with honesty, she accuses you of overthinking, dismisses your concerns, or changes the subject entirely. This resistance is her way of avoiding accountability for her lack of interest. Deep down, she knows the spark has faded, but she doesn't want to have the uncomfortable conversation. And so, she hides behind excuses, leaving you in confusion and doubt. What makes this stage especially painful is the unpredictability. Sometimes, she might show brief moments of affection, giving you hope that things are getting better. But those moments are fleeting, like sparks that die as quickly as they appear. They're not signs of renewed love. They're remnants of what once was, habits that haven't fully disappeared. If you cling to those rare moments, you risk ignoring the overwhelming reality of her withdrawal. She may also start comparing you, whether openly or subtly. She brings up stories of other men, admires qualities in them that she no longer sees in you, or highlights what you lack instead of appreciating who you are. This comparison is not about those other men. It's about her own dissatisfaction. When someone constantly looks outside the relationship for validation or admiration, it's because their heart has already begun to leave. Financial and emotional investments also shift. A woman in love contributes, whether with her time, her energy, or her resources. She invests in shared experiences, gifts, or even small gestures that show she's thinking of you. But when she no longer cares, those contributions stop. She becomes less willing to share, less willing to give, and more focused on keeping her world separate from yours. That separation is a silent declaration that her interest has faded. At this point, denial is tempting. You tell yourself she's just stressed, busy, or distracted. You justify her coldness with external excuses. But deep inside, you know the truth. Relationships don't die from stress alone. They die when one person stops choosing the other. And if she's no longer choosing you, every excuse only delays the inevitable. By now, the disconnection is almost impossible to ignore. You see it in the way she avoids eye contact, the way her laughter sounds forced, and the way her presence feels more like an obligation than a joy. The hardest part is realizing that love doesn't leave with a dramatic announcement. It slips away quietly, piece by piece until there's nothing left. Another powerful sign is her disinterest in physical intimacy. She avoids closeness, comes up with excuses to not share the same bed, and treats affection like a burden rather than a desire. Even if she engages in physical contact, it feels mechanical, without passion or tenderness. Intimacy becomes a routine instead of a connection, and that shift is one of the clearest indicators that her heart is no longer in it. Pay attention to her level of respect. Respect is the foundation of any lasting bond, and when it erodes, the relationship becomes fragile. She may start interrupting you more often, mocking your opinions, or disregarding your feelings altogether. What she once admired in you now becomes a source of irritation. Disrespect doesn't appear overnight. It grows as affection fades, and it reveals just how little she values the partnership. She also begins to protect her independence in a way that excludes you. While independence is healthy in any relationship, the way she asserts it now feels different. She creates walls instead of boundaries, secrecy instead of privacy. She may stop telling you where she's going, who she's with, or what she's doing. The transparency that once created trust is replaced with mystery, and mystery quickly turns into suspicion. This is the stage where many men cling desperately. They beg, plead, and negotiate, hoping to win back what's already gone. But begging for love never works. Genuine interest can't be forced, and the harder you try to convince her to care, the more she pulls away. What's needed is not desperation but dignity, the ability to see reality clearly and accept it, no matter how painful it may be. The irony is that by holding on tightly, you lose the very thing you're fighting for, your self-respect. And without self-respect, no relationship, past, present, or future, can thrive. When a woman has truly lost interest, the final sign is emotional closure. She may still be physically present, sharing a home, a bed, or even daily routines, but emotionally, she's already gone. She no longer dreams with you, no longer builds with you, no longer feels connected to you. You've become two strangers sharing the same space, living parallel lives instead of one shared journey. At this point, the question is no longer, is she interested? The answer is clear, she isn't. The real question becomes, what will you do now? Will you continue clinging to a ghost of the past, hoping for revival? Or will you honor yourself enough to walk away even if it hurts? The truth is, letting go is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It means you respect yourself enough to stop begging for someone's attention, enough to recognize that love should never be one-sided. A relationship built on indifference is no relationship at all. When you finally accept the signs for what they are, you free yourself from endless waiting. You open the door to healing, to rediscovering who you are outside of the relationship, and to creating space for someone who will truly value you. Because the end of one love is not the end of love itself. It's an invitation to grow, to learn, and to prepare for the love that's meant for you. Remember this: a woman who's no longer interested is not your enemy. She's simply a chapter that has reached its conclusion. And while endings are painful, they are also beginnings. Every heartbreak carries within it the seed of transformation, the chance to become stronger, wiser, and more aware of your worth. So instead of fearing the signs, see them as guides. They're not here to punish you, they're here to set you free. Free from illusions, free from false hope, and free to build a life where love is mutual, respect is constant, and interest never fades.